Rach, you've been in the news a lot lately, so let's catch up first on the tabloidy stuff. The fact that we saw you with the XC60 on social media last week, and the pram, the buggy in the back of the car as well. What a cute way that was of announcing what we can now see for ourselves. Congratulations to yourself and Brian.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's great. Yeah, it was trying to kind of, there was a lot of kind of speculation, so I was advised to just get the news out there before someone else did. So, it was, I thought it was quite fitting. It kind of showed off how big and spacious the boot is in the XC60. So, it's very exciting. So, baby coming in May. So, my life is very different now. Building up to Cheltenham in March is very different in 2026 than it was in 2025.
Yeah, it'll be a very different May this year to last year when you were dealing with the announcement of your retirement. So, since then, what has that been like? Or have you managed to somehow adapt life to now being post a brilliant jockey career?
Yeah, look, it's been great. I'm very lucky that a lot of the supporters I had when I was riding, are still with me and want me to do things. And I'm working with the jockey club as well now in the build up to Cheltenham, and I've been kept really busy, which is brilliant. So I'm very lucky that my career as a jockey has had that kind of knock-on effect. So I'll keep that going for as long as I can anyway. And look, it's different. I really do miss riding. Especially when you see the Dublin Racing Festival, racing over Christmas. Like, Cheltenham is going to be hard, like, I'm not going to lie, you know what I mean? It's going to be hard to watch it because, I didn't finish because I didn't love what I did, I finished because it was just felt like it was the right time for me to finish. And but it's still something I miss every day. Maybe not riding out today in particular, the rain, but the racing part, the competitiveness, the purpose of that, I miss that.
It's interesting as well that we're only a stone's throw from Ballybridge here as well, and the Galway races, before we know it, will be upon us as well. So I'm sure you've great memories of coming to Galway.
Yeah, brilliant. Great memories of coming to Galway when I wasn't riding, on a more social side of life, and then when when my riding career started getting going and coming up here with some great chances. And some week at the Galway Festival, like, it's brilliant. Jockeys love it, and there's two proper national hunt races for us in the plate and the hurdle, so it's a great week. Never won either of those actually, but anyway.
Well, about the only things you didn't win, because you had a stellar, especially I think post-COVID, those kind of 21, 22, you just had an amazing time, those couple of years, which, let's face it, like, you're well into your career at that stage, but those couple of years where, the Grand National and the Cheltenham winners that all came together for leading jockey, I mean, you must have felt that you were on just a roller coaster that just kept going.
Yeah, it was incredible. It really was. Like, Cheltenham, coming home from Cheltenham and then getting the Grand National a couple of weeks later, like, it was just hard to. It's now I can look back and really enjoy it all and believe that it happened, But when you're in it, it's so different when you're in it as a sports person, because you're always kind of looking ahead to the next thing, and like, racing just moves so quickly, and you have to be riding winners all the time to kind of stay where you are and so on. So it was a phenomenal time, and like, when I see the clips back now, it's hard to kind of fathom it all. It was incredible.
Now, we did say that this wouldn't be just a horse racing discussion, but do you think the Grand National win in some way changed everything? I mean, it's the first thing that any MC is going to mention when he's talking about you, and the fact that in 182 years of Aintree there was never a female jockey who won that race, and the fact that you did. I mean, do you think you'll still look back on that and thank God that was the one? If you were only to win one race, it would be that one.
Yeah, look, I think the Grand National is the race that people watch who maybe don't have an interest in racing, but they watch the Grand National every year. It's the race that I got congratulations from, like, Japan, Australia, all different parts of the world. Like, it has millions of people tuning in to watch it every year. Like, it's that race in jumps racing, so it's just so iconic and so famous. So it did undoubtedly change my life. Yeah.
Was too much made of the fact that you were the first female, or did you look much into that? I mean, obviously it was a statistical fact, But is that something you play on much, the fact that you're so successful as a female jockey, to try and be an inspiration to other girls coming up?
Look, it's such a privilege to be the first woman to do anything, and you know, it wasn't lost on me that was the case. But at the same time, when I crossed the line, it wasn't the first thing I thought about, and I think that's because of all the incredible lady riders that went before me to put me in a position that when I crossed the line in the Grand National, it wasn't the first thing I thought about, you know. Like it's not so long ago women weren't even allowed to take out licenses, you know. So I never purposely wanted to make a deal of it in the racing media, because I never wanted anyone to think of me as any different, because I wasn't any different. So if I kept highlighting the fact that, you know, I was a female doing this and it was amazing because I was a female doing it, I didn't want that, because it wasn't any different, you know. It was, I was a jockey and I was treated as a jockey, and I wanted that to be the case. But I totally appreciate how on the outer, outside of our kind of racing bubble, it is a massive deal and a massive privilege. And yeah, to be someone who can inspire a young girl or boy to get involved in the sport in any capacity is an honour.
Yeah, I mean, there were plenty of pioneers before you, and even a few years before. I remember the excitement down our way in Dunmore, who the lads who owned Seabass, with Katie Welch on board coming third. And I suppose that got people thinking, you know what, this mightn't be too far away. The likes of Katie, and I'm sure there's Nina, many others as well, would they have been, you know, helpful to you and inspiration to you up along the line as well, even though in certain parts of your career they'd be rivals as well?
Yeah, massively. Look, Katie and Nina were so established when I started. You know, they were both riding Cheltenham winners, Irish Grand National winners. They both had really two of the best nearly jobs. You know, they both had really good jobs as amateurs in the circuit. So they were incredible. They were a great help to me. Mainly just there, you know, you walk into the weigh room and, you know, you have the male changing area, obviously, which our valets are in, and then you have the female area, and, you know, they were there, they were in there. So it was nice to have them to bounce things off, and, you know, just to kind of follow their lead, like in the sense that they never walked around making a big deal out of the fact that they were females in the weigh room. So, you know, that knocked on to me, and I followed suit with that, you know. So they were they were brilliant, the two of them.
Take us back to your younger days, Rachel, then in Tipperary, and like, was horse riding and horses, was that always going to be your career, or was there ever a point where you thought, no, I'll just keep this as a pastime and I'll do something else?
Yeah, I kind of always wanted to be a vet when I was younger, but my Leaving Cert results were nowhere near anywhere near good enough to do that. So
I have to say the points for vet are daft anyway, as I could never quite understand that. But anyway, you always had animals obviously around the house. And
yeah, look, I loved being outside as a kid. I was an outdoor kid. I had pet lambs, I had ponies. I had a fantastic childhood growing up on a farm. And, you know, when I kind of got into my teenage years, you know, I always did like going fast on my pony, and I was competitive in school and stuff, and yeah, I had an interest in racing. You know, started watching racing, and yeah, like being a jockey and riding as a jockey was always something I wanted to do, but it was always going to be as an amateur, you know. Like, I took out my amateur license, and like never did I think it would be a career, a profession. I'd actually make money from it, you know. Things just escalated, and it went down a road that I never even thought was possible.
did you ever try show jumping when you were younger?
I did it all. I was in pony club. I did eventing probably more so than show jumping. I evented plenty in my teenage years, and yeah, I did it all. I hunted, I played pony club games. Yeah, I was a spoiled child with the amount of things that my parents exposed me to.
GAA, did you ever try the camogie or ladies football or anything like that?
I played camogie in primary school, and then secondary school, basketball was the big sport in our school. So yeah, basketball and hockey, but we were shite at hockey. But basketball was the big one. So I got to play in Tala, in the arena in Tala, in a final, and that was a buzz. Yeah.
Brilliant. So let's look then at, I suppose, that jump from a keen amateur to where you got your big breaks. And I know you've often been quoted about being thankful to Shark Hanlon in particular, giving you your chance for your first winner. The thrill around that and the excitement and the build-up, you know, from point to pointing to actually getting a winner like that. What was that period like?
Yeah, so I finished school, I went to college, that was the thing to do. I studied science in UCD for 2 years, and then I went down to Limerick and did equine science because I kept failing maths in Dublin. Anyway, long story. So I was kind of in different colleges, but riding away as an amateur the whole time, like secretly trying to get racing to kind of take off, but it was just it was a very slow burner, but I rode a winner for Shark when I was 21, and that just gave you a taste for what it was like. And the minute you feel that, it's like some kind of a drug. You just want to feel that buzz again. So from the age of 19 to 25, I had a handful of winners, but like I just always want to feel what that feels like again. So when I was 25, I was finally finished all my college, and Shark suggested to me that if you turn your license from amateur to claiming professional, that he would have more opportunities for me. So I had nothing to lose. That was the catalyst for doing it. I had a very average career as an amateur. That was not going to be a sustainable. It wasn't even a career, is the wrong word. It was happening alongside college, but it wasn't going to be anything that was going to be sustainable. So I said I'd give it a go. So I turned my license over, and took me 6 months to ride a winner then as a professional, but I was getting a lot more practice, and that was helping me so much. I was improving all the time, and then finally I got my winner, and the ball just started rolling, and things just started to improve. Other people started to use me. I think I had so much experience riding in point of points and as an amateur, and I was also very light, so I could use that lightweight. So I think it just a few things clicked, and the ball just rolled, and it snowballed into something I never thought.
Were there male jockeys at the time who helped you, or by the same token, what was your opinion of how you were held in the esteem of the male-dominated sport you were in? Were there anybody looking at you kind of going, look at this one, God love her, out here trying to win races against us big boys? Or at what point do you think you got the respect that you deserved and eventually obviously proved to be one of the greatest ever?
Oh, look, I think any young jockey starting out gets a bit of, who's this one over there? Would they ever keep the horse straight? And, I became a senior jockey in the last few years trying to help the younger jockeys. Younger jockeys, male or female, need direction, need help, and that's something very nice about racing. It's a really competitive sport, but at the same time, there's always an older jockey there to help and give advice. All of us are so incredibly aware of how dangerous our sport is. So, if you see a young guy and he's not keeping his horse straight, or he's doing something technically wrong, that it could affect you in a race as much as anything. So, older jockeys are quite helpful to younger jockeys. Maybe not now if they're on the favourite and the other lad's on the second favourite, but there is a certain amount of respect there between jockeys, and I definitely felt that when I started. I got the same amount of shouts at me throughout races, but equally the same amount of advice given to me, and you grow and you get better but by hearing all that.
Funny you mention that, because I'm always intrigued by what's actually happening between the jockeys in the middle of a race. That kind of mid-period where you're maybe just cantering down the back straight and you have another circuit to go. And you can obviously see there's conversations going on.
Yeah.
Like, are there people cracking jokes, or what's being said?
Yeah, it depends. Everyone has different personality. They'd always take the piss out of me because I'd never really talk. But other people will talk. If you're at the back and both the horses are clearly have no chance, the lad beside you might say something to you, or geez, my lad's jumping terrible, or little things like that. I wouldn't say there's conversations, it's more just words, but it's good to listen to. You'll often hear someone shout loose one, that means there's a loose horse coming, or another jockey could say, you might rock up beside a lad and he might say, my horse is jumping really right now, just so you're aware of that. just little things like that. You also might get a shout to keep straight, or to keep out, or these kind of things. Now, you wouldn't always be obedient to what the other person says, because it might be just beneficial to them and them only, but there is bits of chatter that goes on.
Yeah, so I'm taking from that a lot of it is safety orientated in terms of putting signposts there if there are loose horses or whatnot. But a lot of it as well, as I'd imagine, you do what I want you to do because I want the best chance of winning this race. So at what point do you kind of start becoming a bit selfish and saying, I'm not going to, keep right just to allow you a straight run through the middle or whatever? Willie Mullins called you a tough cookie. Does that come from the ability to fight your own corner on a horse when it came to... Because I'd imagine being in the right position is the key, especially in the last furlong or so.
Yeah, look, position is everything in a race. Even watching the Winter Olympics there recently, and like the speed skating, whatever, like the tactics that are used there. Like racing can be so incredibly tactical as well. And anyone that's watched racing and watched Ruby Walsh analyse it, it's fascinating to hear. To hear it from him for people that maybe don't know, and to get an explanation of it all. But yeah, racing is very, very tactical, and I think you need to have the right balance of knowing, when you should hold your ground and when, maybe your chance is gone, and if you let a lad. If you know your chance is gone and you let someone just in through a little gap, it's not even noticeable to everyone out there, but you might just let him through. Well, then the next day you might be on one with a chance, and he might be bet and he might let you through. It's just those little things.
The horse is the key, obviously, and the better you got, the better horses you got. What kind of a relationship do you build up with the horse, or who's your favourite horse of all the ones that you rode, all of the big names over the years, the Honeysuckles to the Bob Ollingers and the Manellas? Did you have a different relationship with each horse?
Yeah, definitely. They're all so different. Like Honeysuckle, who was, won 2 champion hurdles. I obviously had a fantastic relationship with her, but like some days you go into the stable and she put her ears back, wouldn't want to talk to you, no interest. And then you've horses like Manila Times who just wanted you to rub his head and cuddle him all day. They all have different. They're like humans basically. They all have different personalities. They all respond differently to different things, and they're just incredible animals. Like I've had such good relationship. Like obviously you have soft spots for the ones that bring you up the hill in Cheltenham in first place. Like that's just such a special thing for a horse. For you to kind of unite with a horse to do. It's an amazing feeling. But equally, like I've ridden horses of all different grades, and some of them are fantastic jumpers, and they might be good enough to win Gold Cups, but they'll win the handicap chase around Tremor, and they'll give you a great buzz at jumping, and you've different connections with all of them.
Do you talk much to the horse during the course of a race? Is the calming influence of your voice, do you think that has an impact on how the horse performs?
Yeah, some of the lads used to take the piss out of me actually, because I used to just go whoa, whoa, like this if they were keen. But like I don't know why I did that. Like they probably can't even hear me, but it was just an instinctual thing that I did, But yeah, people will, you'll click at them, and you'll some people. Yeah, you'll let out an old shout when you land over the last sometimes, it's just you're so pumped and full of adrenaline yourself, so yeah, I probably did talk to them a bit, but just subconsciously more than anything maybe.
Like you talk about, like Willie mentioned again about you bring a different energy when you're on a horse. What do you think he meant by that? Like in terms of, you being different on a horse, whoever it might be, as distinct from another jockey?
Oh, I don't know. Willie must have had a few wines when he said that. I don't know, like every jockey is different, and horses respond to different things, and there's plenty of horses I rode that I lost a lot more races than I won for sure. But yeah, different horses respond to different techniques, and different jockeys have different riding styles, and yeah, sometimes you just click with horses, and that's great when you do.
You mentioned Cheltenham a few times at the start as well. That roar when you not just pass the line, but even when you jump the final fence, surely that translates into the animal as well. Do you find that underneath you, be it the Honeysuckles of this world that won so many, that they get an extra surge of energy just as you do from that just sheer will of the public to get you over the line?
Yeah, like I've no doubt some of them know that they've won. You can see it in them, like when they walk by in the parade ring, their heads are up high, their ears are pricked. Everyone's giving them a reaction as well, I suppose, but they know they've won. Like on numerous occasions, Honeysuckle especially once in Leopardstown, the Irish champion hurdle, she got kind of semi-headed by Petit Mouchoir, but she got back up again, and I could feel her digging so deep to do that. You know, she wanted to keep her head in front. But like they're instinctual animals, you know, they're herd animals that are used to galloping out in the wild, and you'll naturally have horses that are happier in front and horses that are happier to follow and that kind of thing. So she was definitely one that knew what it was to win and wanted to do that.
Well, no more than winning the national on Manila. Honeysuckle was very good to you in your time as well. I'm sure you've always fond memories there as well. So now that you're kind of getting out the other side of it, and you're obviously getting ready for starting a family with Brian, and you know, events like this crop up as well, do you look at with Cheltenham as well with one eye towards a media career down the line, or where do you see yourself in 4 or 5 years' time in terms of still being connected with the racing world?
Yeah, like it's lovely. This year I'm going over to Cheltenham, working with the Jockey Club and Ladies' Day, so I have a reason to be there. Like, I can't imagine myself going and just being social, you know what I mean? I wouldn't know where to go or who to hang out with, or I wouldn't want to be there if I wasn't riding. But it's okay this year because I have jobs and I do my work and get through that. But like, people ask me like in May when I retired, you know, what have you got planned for the future? And I genuinely didn't know, and I kind of still don't know. I was living such a dream, like I can't even explain to you how I never envisaged my life would end up like it did, winning those races in Cheltenham, getting on Grade 1 horses, the Grand National. Like it was something, it was a dream bubble, so I never wanted to think about part 2 when I was in that bubble. You know, like the day I finished up in May in Mallow, decided I was going to retire, I genuinely hadn't spent more than 5 seconds thinking about what my future was going to be, you know, because I didn't want to take from living in that moment of the dream I was living. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of figure it all out at the moment, you know, but I'm very conscious that I'm lucky that I have things in front of me at the moment, but they're going to dry up someday soon, and hopefully not soon, but you know, in the future that they will. And what direction I'm going to go down, I don't know, but media isn't really something massively jumping at me right now, because I think it's a little bit soon for me to be able to say in Cheltenham on a podium commentating on horses when I rode them last year. You know, it's just a bit harder for me, so maybe down the line. But that's a very long-winded answer to your question, but basically I don't know what my future has in store.
It's funny because no longer had you announced your retirement last May, and everybody was putting you in at 6-4 favourite to be on Dancing with the Stars or Strictly Ballroom over in the UK. It was mad. Obviously you had slightly different plans on that front as well. But the likes of those kind of offers, were they coming at you? Because when you have a profile and a personality like you have, the BBC Sports Personality International star as well, an MBE as well, so maybe I should be calling you something else before Rachael, maybe, you know, Lady Blackmore or whatever your actual title is. But those kind of things obviously bring you into the UK market as well, which is a bigger kettle of fish altogether. So is there still an opportunity maybe for something like that down the line in a TV non-racing context?
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm lucky. Some of those offers were on the table, and you know, the baby thing actually was a bit of a surprise, because I got married in January, so I didn't quite mean to be pregnant for when getting married. Anyway, it's another story. But they were kind of on the table. But this year I was kind of happier just to not commit into doing anything like that. You know, those shows and stuff take a lot of commitment from you, and I just wanted to kind of find my feet, and luckily I was still busy enough with other things. But yeah, nothing was ever off the table, and I'm very lucky that those offers came in, and hopefully they might come in again.
Geographically, we better talk about home in Loughlin in Carlow. What was the drive up today like? Because Carlow is kind of awkward, isn't it? You're kind of going up cross country, you're searching for a motorway and there isn't one.
Yeah, we've lots of different routes coming from Loughlin Bridge, so we can go like Shannon Bridge, Portlaoise, you can go up further up the motorway. Like, as jockeys, I feel like we have very good, we know all the shortcuts and so on throughout the roads of Ireland. But yeah, it was a wet journey up today, but yeah, I was very happy to be in my XC60 anyway. Yeah, very comfortable driving up the road, I have to say, and yeah, sure, it's a beautiful Jeep to drive.
I think we have to mention the XC60 12 times, that's the agreement. So we've got 9 more at some point. If the XC60 was a horse that you had ridden, well, which one would it be?
Ooh, I think it would be Aplutar. So he won the Gold Cup at 3 miles. He's also a Grade 1 winner at 2 miles. Brilliant temperament. He was a beautiful looking horse as well.
We were getting this.
Yeah, he ticked all the boxes, and yeah, the XC60 does the same.
Well, there you go. If Volvo ever change tack and start naming their cars after horses, then you're driving the Volvo Aplutar, which is great. So let's talk about Brian then and the wedding. We have to get a bit of goss in there as well. So this was down in his home place in Rosscarbery in January. Nice and low key. Was that always the plan?
Yeah, we got married in Rosscarbery, just a small family church wedding, and then we had a party in Virginia Park Lodge in Cavan then 2 days later. So yeah, we had a great time. It was brilliant, and was trying to fit in having a wedding around racing. Obviously, Brian is a jockey, so there's not that many times throughout the year when jockeys can have weddings. So yeah, it was great that we had it, and yeah, it was a great day.
And the fact I referenced Carlo, how did it come that you met there or set up base there? Was it simply the geography of the racing industry at the time?
Yeah, so it was actually, I rode my first winner for Shark Hanlon, and Brian was working there at the time. So after I had ridden my winner, I started to go in there once or twice a week riding out, and yeah, we became friends, and then we became husband and wife.
As you do. Now we can skip forward past everything in between, but I suppose, the fact is he's still operating and working in the jockey. If you were to have any advice to Baba in here, would you encourage he or she, I don't know, do you know yet? No, you don't. Okay, that's a real traditionalist, aren't you? Would you encourage your child to get involved in racing, or is it inevitable?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I haven't really processed the whole, that feels like so far away. But yeah, I think, my childhood anyway was very much encouragement for whatever road I wanted to go down, watching, I could see it wasn't easy for my parents to watch me being a jockey, and, watching me come home with, I was in a wheelchair for a while after breaking my hip and ankle. I came home in a neck brace another time, that they had to see all that. So that's not easy for a parent, but they never didn't encourage me because they knew I loved it so much. So yeah, I think as a parent I'd like to just be encouraging whatever road the child wants to go.
And you touched on it several times, Rachel. The danger that's involved in your sport it's unspeakable. It's almost that a taboo at times, but yet we've seen tragedies over recent years as well. It must really cut at every jockey out there when you see somebody seriously injured or lose their life. Yeah,
it's incredibly difficult. Yeah, it is, because you're, the only thing that you can hold on to is the fact that they were doing something that they loved doing, and that's and I know that because I love doing it, and that's all you can hold on to, and and the fact that every single measure is taken to try and prevent these things from happening, and we are very well looked after as jockeys with regards to all the different care that we get down along. So winning the Grand National, when I came home, the sense of community there, it was just incredible, and the employment that it offers, like there's over 30,000 people employed directly and indirectly in the industry. That there's so many different facets, from the big trainers and owners to the breeders, to the small breeders, who have 2 mares, to vets, farriers, physios, feed companies, hay, straw. Like there's such an employment around racing and this whole industry, and it's a wonderful one to be part of.
I mean, I know you've referenced your agent Gary Cribben, just get the names right, and Rebecca, who helped you as well with kind of non-horse related stuff over the years. Had you much of a team around you, a support base? Because I'm sure everybody was looking for Rachael Blackmore, especially when you go back 3-4 years ago when you were absolutely the talk of the world, not just the racing industry as well. So did you need to surround yourself with good people, and what kind of support have you had, especially in the really good times in your career?
Yeah, why, these not really good times.
All good times. These are very good times. But when you were winning the Grand Nationals, and I'd imagine there was huge demands for you at that time for appearances here, there and everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, Gary Cribben is the jockey's agent, so he would have booked all my rides. And then I had a really good girl, Rebecca Matthews. She still helps me now. She kind of manages everything, kind of non-horse related. So yeah, her life definitely got very busy after the national, and yeah, I'm glad she still has work to do with me anyway. But yeah, just she's fantastic, and you know, as you say, it's great to have good people like that around you. And you know, she very much understood when I was racing that everything came second to it. You know, it didn't matter what kind of an invite came in. For, you know, like the things I turned down because there was racing on. You know, it might just have been, you know, I might have had one ride in Kilbeggan, but I was still going racing. So that always came first. So yeah, it's definitely different now when invites and stuff come in. The racing calendar has disappeared from my life, so I don't have to check anything with that. Similar to like weddings, like I remember my friend got married a few weeks ago, and I was there at the church, and all my other friends were like, "Oh my God, we've never seen you at the church before." Like usually I go to a wedding and I'd be, you know, getting the tail end of it. So I was able to go to like the whole day. So just those little things are different now, but you know, you don't have. But when I was racing, it was everything came second to that.